The question is that the House do now adjourn. I call the honourable member for Bowman.
Thank you, Speaker. And I've committed to spending since 1994, 20 years ago, 2 weeks of my working year in remote Australia, and I'm pleased to have had the privilege to spend a week in the Arnhem community of Ramingining, including a weekend. And there's no better opportunity than to be there on a weekend, Speaker, to hear the dingoes howling at night, to hear the card games that are played in the evening, to be there to watch sport played, and of course see the ordinary operations of a community we often don't get to witness when we just fly in and fly out. Look, brokering this visit and giving me a chance tonight to just make a few observations was of course John Japp, who is the head of the Arnhem Council, Barnaky, the senior Indigenous member on that council, and locally in Ramingining, Peter Van Houston, Linda Reid, Gary Wise, and Community Council Liaison Officer Richard Bandelil. Three key community elders, obviously together with Auntie Judy Ramingining Nul Murran, Matthew Dulumburuk, and the two other senior men, Bobby Bununukuru and Billy Black, the now actor who was departing the community as I arrived, has very exciting times ahead. We're also delighted that Rebel Films have decided to pick up 4 of these young Ramingining men who are members of the Black As group, as they describe themselves. This is Joseph Smith, Dino Weni Baringa, Chico Lilipiana and Jerome Lilipiana, who all have an exciting career ahead in film, and that obviously follows the fantastic film 10 Canoes that was based in this community of Ramingining. In the time available, obviously, the history of Ramingining as originally an outpost from Milingimbi, the Crocodile Islands off the Glyde River, for greater water security in the 1950s and 60s, this community was established, and together with Milingimbi, around 1,800 adults moved between these two communities, and more distantly down a goat track to the Arnhem Highway, giving them access in the dry to Govan, to Darwin, Catherine, but in the wet, of course, just an 85-kilometre trip to one of the larger communities where they do have access to a few additional services. Look, I want to recognise the important work that's happening in a community like Ramingining. It's a snapshot of what's happening in Indigenous Australia. But I have to note that there's also areas of great concern, and that is that what we have here is 100 dwellings, $3.4 million of housing repairs that are needed in that small community. We have 15% of rates collected from this community compared to the total budget to maintain those dwellings. And of the 1,800 people in these two communities, just 2% are currently what we would term retirees over the age of 65. 2% of the community living to the age of 65. Of the 330 young people between 15 and 24, just 18 have a job. It's a 5% likelihood of getting a job when you leave school. And unlike functional economies where we see a cycling of money through the public and the private sector, there's virtually no visible private sector in these communities, Speaker. That means money is spent at the store and in a single economic pass is lost to the community. To put it another way, in this single community, around $20 million is paid in fortnightly pulses of welfare. Virtually all of it disappears in a single pass without any form of demonstrable non-public sector financial activity. We need more attention on the 0 to 5 year. Ramingining was a community that missed out on an Indigenous early education centre because of its size. Strategies in school attendance have yielded a 10% increase in school attendance, but we have so much further to go, and the walking bus is showing some glimmer of promise. School principals need to be CEOs answering to a traditional community board, and I'm glad that that's working relatively well in Ramingining, though I didn't have a chance to meet the principal, Sue McAvoy. The school council chairperson, Albert Wanimirabar, is doing hard work in that area. Ben and Paddy, as the police, have got a great handle on what's happening there and in Milingimbi. We have Ben Wallace leading Bulla Bulla, probably one of the major private sector activities outside of the store, selling now world-renowned art and fostering and cultivating the great artists of the future. And of course, Chris Hayward and Liam Flanagan, the Training and Employment Service Managers and the Operations Manager of RJCP, respectively. I was also there hosted by Dr. Buddy LeCoug and the Health Clinic, Rhonda Golby-Smith, Jennifer Banaka Lilipiana, Bruce Reid and Brett Iron. Carrie Peterson, who heads up the Homeland Services, really taught us that beyond the culture of carver, cards and chaos, there is genuine effort to find employment opportunities for every young person, starting from the age of 15 onwards. They know in Ramingining that they can break this cycle of despondency and welfare reliance, but it will take a full frontal attack on traditional invested interests, and I wish them very best in their important steps ahead through the RJCP.